If there's one skill that's directly related to your current scoring level more than any other, it's your ability to strike the ball consistently. And your ball striking ability will be strongly influenced by how you move your pelvis, particularly as you start the downswing and move into the follow through. In fact, I would go as far as to say that the movement of the pelvis in the downswing and the follow through is the master move in golf. Today's video is going to share with you a very simple drill that everybody could do to set up correctly with the pelvis, move it correctly in the backswing, and then most importantly, transfer that motion into the perfect downswing and follow through sequence to improve your ball striking and lower your scores. Okay, let's get straight into this with how to set the pelvis correctly at setup. That might seem like a relatively easy thing to do, but the frequency with which I have to give this lesson and this drill to players both in person and online would suggest that it's actually quite difficult to get the pelvis organized exactly as you need to. However, with 2 alignment sticks, I can show you very quickly how to do this properly. Place one of the alignment sticks through the belt loops of your pants on the front side here, and the other one is going to be on the floor. Now the one that's on the floor here is just representative of my intended target line. And then as I set up to the ball, I'm going to be able to see whether this stick that's through my belt loops is either square to the stick on the ground, closed to the stick on the ground, or open to the stick on the ground. And here's the bit that I want you to understand. As you move your weight forward at setup, which you should do, as you move your pelvis towards the target, you could do that in a number of ways, and I see a very common issue where golfers are trying to move their weight forward, which is correct with the lower body, but as they do that, they also open their hips up as well. That is a catastrophic flaw because it leads to a swing path that gets too across the ball. So you think you're doing something right by putting your weight forward, but you're actually not getting the benefit because you're opening up your hips. I think a lot of people do it this way because there's a natural instinct for them that when the hips are forward, they're also beginning to open like they would do in a full swing. However, the correct way to do this, and I promise you, if you just make it this far into the video and you only try this one thing, set up to the ball, move the hips forward, and at the same time close the stick that's through your belt loops by some 5 to 10 degrees, close it to the stick that's on the ground, meaning you point it to the right here as a right-handed golfer. Go ahead and do that, put your weight on the front, close your hips, and that will also have the effect of just closing off your upper body slightly as well, which is a good thing. And go ahead and just hit some shots from that position. You can hit with the stick through your belt loops if you want to. You may not want to do that to begin with, but just by setting up with the weight forward and the pelvis closed, I'm predisposing myself to things that are really going to help me. Number 1, increasing my turn on the backswing. Number 2, ensuring that I've got more chance of swinging from in to out on the downswing. So that's the benefit of getting this correct at setup. Just start with the stick through your belt loops, set up to the ball, and make sure that as you take your setup, you have your weight forward with the lower body and closed. That's going to be a strong theme of today's video. For this portion of the video, I'm going to get rid of the golf club for a second, but I'm going to keep the stick through my belt loops and show you how the pelvis moves throughout the entirety of the swing. So we've got the stick through the belt loops, and in a functional backswing, that stick is going to turn around 45 degrees or so, and it's going to do so by the function of my knees changing flex. So a correct backswing from the pelvis's perspective here would be for the hips to turn or the pelvis to turn via some knee flex change, which, as I say, will move this stick through about 45-degree angle. And also from this down the line view, you'll notice how those hips are turned on a tilted angle. That's a good thing to do. So if you struggle with the backswing part of this, you can just do some very simple dry drills with a stick through your belt loops. Just on that point, if you haven't got alignment sticks or you haven't got belt loops, you could just rest a club across your pelvis and do the same motion like so. So if that's the basic backswing motion, which I think a lot of people are reasonably good at, but where they get it wrong is in the downswing. And the largest part of the difference here and the confusion that exists is what should start the downswing. Well, I'll tell you this. You want to get to the top of your backswing position, and then when the stick's in this closed condition, so the hips have turned, the stick is in this closed condition, as you start the downswing, the very first thing you'd want to do is keep the stick as closed as you can, like so, and move the entire pelvis forwards. So that's a movement to the left or towards the target. For me, it's a sway of the pelvis. It's not a turn. The turn comes later. So the sway precedes the turn. At P5 here, where the golf club is starting to swing down. So at position 5, which is where the lead arm is parallel to the ground in the downswing, the tour average hip turn is still closed. That means the best golfers in the world, when they start down, do not start down by opening up their hips. That's what a lot of you are doing, and it completely ruins any chance you have of consistent ball striking or ball flight. It also robs you of significant power. So we start with the hips forward and closed. We swing up to the top, which is the top of the backswing, position 4. And then as I start down, as I move forward, my pelvis is going to sway towards the target, but I'm going to really try to keep this stick closed for as long as I can. And that's a feeling that should help you tremendously in terms of improving your ball striking. It will help to get your low point of your swing more forward, while at the same time helping you to continue to swing slightly from in to out. That's those powerful, well-struck shots that typically have a small draw on them. You'll see in this image here Tiger Woods practicing something similar, a feeling in his swing to delay the opening of the hips. And that's the point I want to make in this video. The hips both sway and turn. They do both throughout the entirety of the downswing. But there's a very strong relationship here as far as the sway comes first and then the turn comes later. Much later in many ways than most of you realize, and actually much less than most of you realize. You don't need to be spinning your hips open. That turn and rotation through into the follow through for many of you will happen automatically, but what you won't be doing, and the largest difference between golfers who are shooting in the 70s versus golfers who are shooting in the 90s, would be that the better player is learning to move the pelvis forward in the downswing. Take a look at that image of Tiger again as he does that little rehearsal. He's got his lead knee still flexed and moving down towards the ground. His trail leg is still straight. That's going to help him to keep these hips closed as possible. There's another nice image here of Ben Hogan at that P5 position that I was talking about, and you can see if you look at his hips, they're still closed. They haven't opened up yet. So the largest difference here between the best ball strikers and then the highest handicappers is that the best ball strikers have the sway part in there whilst keeping the pelvis closed. And the poorest golfers don't have enough sway, and instead they have too much turn. So let's just go through that exercise one more time with just the stick before we introduce the club. And I like to rest my hands on the stick sometimes. It just helps to give a sense of how this is all moving and together. But you could also do this with just your hands down in front of you in some sort of golf grip. Make your backswing, knees change flex, we get that hip turn. And then to start the downswing, there's a very strong move towards the target of the pelvis sway whilst keeping the stick closed. And I would tell you to try and feel like you keep the stick closed for as long as you can. Now that's longer than you'd likely need to, and certainly longer than it would really stay closed in an actual swing. But keeping this stick closed as you move the pelvis forward will really help you to do two things that are very advantageous. One, help you swing more from the inside, and number two, get your low point far enough forward that you can improve your ball striking. I said right at the beginning of this video that the number one skill that's currently keeping you where you're at in terms of your scoring level is your ball striking ability. And your ball striking ability will be strongly influenced by how this pelvis is moving in the downswing. Once you've done that a few times, you can just get hold of a club. You don't even have to hit the ball straight away. Go ahead and walk through those motions. So turn the hips, keep the hips closed while swaying towards the target, and then hit the ground and move into the follow through. You'll see here that in the follow through, the hips have now moved through that rotational part of the swing. They've turned, but I also want you to note how much they've turned. And again, I said this earlier, I think the hips turn a lot less in the swing, in the follow through, than many of you think that they should. There's an awful lot of noise out there on the internet about opening up your hips to get power. And it's just not the way that I see it. And it's certainly not the way the best players are doing it. As I mentioned to you, the best players still have their hips closed as they start the downswing. The other thing to try and remember sometimes when you're looking at what the best players are doing is that your alignments, your body alignments and the way that you move need to match the speed that you swing at. What do I mean? Well, the best players are swinging very fast, they're super athletic, and they're able to move these segments very quickly throughout the swing. But if you just start by spinning your hips open as fast as you can, you haven't got the time or the athleticism to move your arms and the club back down to the ball in that very short amount of time that you have. So you get out of sequence very quickly, which leads to poor ball striking and a loss of distance. So just because the best players might seem like they have their hips more open, and they often do by the time they hit the ball, please note that you just trying to open and spin your hips up as fast as you can, open them as quickly as you can in the downswing, is definitely not helping your golf. In fact, it's the opposite. It's making you worse. So that's why I'm so keen to share this lesson with you. Set up, close the hips, weight forward and closed, finish the backswing, and then feel like you keep the hips closed, and then ultimately you can start to hit some balls from this position. And having the stick there helps me to keep the hips closed for long enough to get my arms down and to hit the ball. Now you're going to see more of a draw pattern tendency with this movement. The more the pelvis sways towards the target, and the longer I keep it closed for, the more I'm going to be introducing and encouraging draw features. That ball overdrew very slightly. But I would say for the vast majority of you watching, and those of you who are scoring in the 90s or the 100s and struggling with your ball striking, setting up with your weight forward and your hips closed, and then feeling like you keep them closed as you start down, will be a tremendous help for you in terms of improving your ball striking ability. That one was a little bit more starting to the right, curving back towards the target. If you've never tried this, I'd encourage you to give it a go. It's quite interesting when I put the stick through the player's belt loops and they go through this exercise, even just at setup. It's quite enlightening to notice how poorly people align their lower body without even realizing it. You could very well be making this mistake and not even realizing. And I'd say one final thing, that if you've tried to put your weight forward, as I would often encourage you to do, and found that your ball striking hasn't really improved as a result of that, it's quite possible and almost certain that you've moved the weight forward, but you've also opened up the hips as well. That throws things offline, as I mentioned before, and you certainly won't be seeing the benefit that you should be. So to summarize, set up, hips forward and closed, and then in that downswing, the sway precedes the turn. Keep the sway moving towards the target, keep the stick closed for as long as possible, and go ahead and finish the swing. The turn will happen. Think about the sway, keeping the hips closed for as long as you can. Like so many of the best drills out there, the simplest ones are often the most effective, and I would say that's true of the drill that I shared with you today. Especially that first piece, getting the pelvis forward and closed at setup, can have a remarkable influence on someone's ball striking. I've seen it transform someone's golf with just the very next swing. Do give that a try the next time you practice, and make sure you let me know how you get on down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video today, guys, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And if you're looking for a more systematic step-by-step way to improve your golf swing and build better ball striking, then check out my tour quality ball striking video course. 16 videos and over an hour of content where I talk you through a step-by-step way to meaningfully improve your ball striking with mechanical recommendations and drills to do for every part of the swing. I'll leave a link down in the description if you'd like to check it out. Today's video focused primarily on the movement of the pelvis as you start the downswing, but you need to make sure you get that backswing piece right so as to be able to benefit from today's lesson. If you want to learn how to turn your hips correctly in the backswing, then go and check out this video I made here, which teaches you exactly how to do that.